Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And once again, I'm doing another episode of How Is This a Movie? And today's film is the 1992 movie Ladybugs. Here is your trivia question for today. The Ladybugs face off against the Flames at the end of the movie. Name any other teams they played during the movie. So let's say you work at the company Mullen Industries, and you're one of their top salespeople, which means you, of course, want a promotion. Now, that extra money would be very helpful for you and your fiance, who is clearly barely any age difference from you, to get married. Now, unfortunately, your boss has no interest in giving out promotions and seems only interested in finding a new head coach for the girls' soccer team that his company is sponsoring. And even though you have no experience with this whatsoever, you, of course, volunteer in hopes of getting that promotion. Now, it seems pretty likely that you will, as long as the Ladybugs end up winning the season. The problem is, the entire team is terrible. So you end up reaching out to your soon to be son in law, Matthew, because he actually does play on a soccer team to see if he can help. Luckily for you, he agrees to help. But that's also when you get a crazy idea not to have him help you coach the team, but instead to have him dress in drag and be on the team. So, with the assistance of Martha, the Ladybugs are now on their way to victory. But of course, the question is how long will Martha be able to keep her secret? And that is essentially the plot of the film Ladybugs. This movie was directed by Sidney J. Furie. Now, this film did not do very well, and Rodney Dangerfield actually blames Paramount for this due to the fact that they marketed it as a family comedy when it was supposed to be aimed at teenagers and adults. Also, what did not help is the fact that it came out the same time as Wayne's World and My Cousin Vinny. But come on, let's be honest, this was not that great of a movie. I mean, is it even slightly believable that Rodney Dangerfield and Eileen Graff's characters, who in real life are 27 years apart from each other, were engaged? Now, on the other side, Jonathan Brandis as Matthew slash Martha was definitely a lot more believable in the concept that he was not supposed to look exactly correct for being a little girl. Now, something I find amusing about this is Leonardo DiCaprio was also up for the role of Matthew slash Martha, but apparently when he got into the drag outfit, they felt that he looked too much like a little girl. You may not have known this, but Jonathan Brandis and Vanessa Shaw were actually dating, even prior to filming. There's a possibility that Brandis is actually the one who got Shaw into the film. Here's another random piece of trivia for you. In the scene where we have Matthew and Chester in the car, Matthew calls Chester Chesterfield. Adding field to the end of a first name is apparently something that Brandis was known for, and he may have just added it in and they kept it in anyway. By the way, in case you're one of the many people out there who probably don't know who Jonathan Brandis is, he unfortunately passed away about 10 years after this movie came out. Here's one other random thing about when Brandis was in drag as the character of Martha. Now, not when on the soccer field, but the other scenes where Martha isn't, they originally had her in heels, but apparently it was very awkward for Brandis to be able to move around, so they changed it to just regular shoes. In one scene in this movie, Dangerfield does also dress up in drag, but this was actually his second time in a film doing so. The first time was in the movie Easy Money. Playing the character of Julie, Chester's secretary and assistant coach, was Jack Hay. The two of them actually sang their own variation on Great Balls of Fire to be used in this film. Now, what's interesting is the role of Julie was originally offered to Whoopi Goldberg. She turned it down, though, as she was also offered the ability to be a lead in her own film, which ended up being the right choice as that was Sister Act. The character of the motivational speaker Dr. Von Kemp from the beginning of the film was played by Steve Landsberg. However, though, the role was originally offered to Sam Kinison, but due to the fact that his stand up career was having a huge comeback at the time, he turned it down. Kinison, by the way, passed away only 2 weeks after this film premiered. This movie was originally going to be filmed in Dallas, Texas, but due to a very high heat, they were worried about the child actors, so they moved filming to Denver, Colorado. So when it comes to the film Ladybugs, I do think there are some very funny moments, especially some very adult themed ones. But in general, I still don't think this is a very good movie. I especially think that the plot is just terrible. Additionally, I can't believe that by the end of this, like, we learn absolutely nothing. In fact, it just encourages cheating more. So I'm going to give this one a 2 out of 5. Now, if you did enjoy it, other films I recommend checking out are The Bad News Bears, Little Giants, The Big Green, and Kicking and Screaming. Now it's time to answer the trivia question from the beginning of this episode. The Ladybugs face off against the Flames at the end of the movie. Name any other teams they played during the movie. So, aside from the Flames, the other teams that they play throughout the movie are the Tornadoes, the Beavers, the Buffaloes, the Debutantes, and the Stingers. By the way, one more piece of trivia when it comes to the team, the Flames, that appeared in this movie. Several of the players were actually just boys in wigs. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. And if there's other films out there that you think fall into the category of how is this a movie, feel free to mention them in the comments, and hopefully I'll add them into the next time I do this theme.